Well, my name is Jason Butler, and I'm the pastor of Transformation City Church here in Milwaukee. I'm really nobody. I'm not like the panel. I'm just here to inspire us and close us out to act. The question that we're going to leave with is so what now? We've heard many great speakers, many great ideas. We've listened to the panel about what we can do. So what are we going to do? How are we going to act? You guys will notice that I have a little bit of a twang going on in my voice. If you listen to me long enough, I am not from around here. I grew up in the South in the mountains. I am a hillbilly, and so if you've never met a real live one, we can talk afterwards. If you've ever seen the Discovery show Moonshiners, those are my people. Seriously. I want to tell you a story about that happened in my life to kind of get us started. I will try not to be too long here. I remember the first time that I saw a child eat an orange peel. I don't know if you've ever seen a child eat an orange peel, but it's somewhat life-changing. It was not by accident. The kid was not eating it because he wanted to. He was eating it because he had to, because he was afraid that, well, he didn't know when he would eat again. It was shocking. It left me asking all sorts of questions like, why in the world would a child have to eat an orange peel when Americans spend $20 billion a year on ice cream? It changed my world. It changed my life. You see, I was a missionary, serving as a missionary in a small village in Russia named Lehi. And this was no ordinary village. It was a village that was designed around this idea of an orphanage. You see, the village was very remote. Only a couple hundred people lived there. But in the middle was a pretty good-sized orphanage. What the orphanage was a housing unit at a place, an educational facility for the bad kids. For the kids that the Russian state government didn't want in cities or in the towns. These were the kids that they exiled to a place where no one would see them, where they couldn't get out, where their life would be tucked away. It was a ghetto. And ghettos don't just happen, they are created and they are sustained. As I was there in the middle of all that, as I was watching this child eating an orange peel, I had no idea at the moment that this was changing my life. As I watched what was happening, my soul shook. I was young, even younger than I am now, but I knew that this was simply an injustice. Something was not right here. So what could I do about it? Could I raise some money for these kids? Or could I start an organization that helped some of them get adopted so they could get out of this madness? I prayed, God, what can I do? What can I do? The answer that I found left me unsettled. I felt that in that moment the Spirit spoke deep within my spirit and gave me the answer I was not looking for, that I did not want at all. Within my heart I heard the Spirit say, come, live with them, give your life to them. What? Whoa, no, Jesus, this could not be right. You see, there must be another answer. I'm not hearing things straight. I have so much life to live, and I have to go get married, and I have to go to seminary and become a pastor one day, and I have to raise my kids and send them to college. I mean, no, you don't know. Jesus, you're wrong. No, this could not be right. Come and live with these kids and give them my life, sacrifice my life for them. That's crazy, and that's risky, and that's asking too much. I like my life and I like my future a little bit more than them. And so I left. I left them eating orange peels. I justified it. I made excuses, but I was wrong. I was wrong. I came to give these kids my presents, like my gifts. I brought them some money and some clothes. That's what we do as Americans, don't we? We bring stuff because we got lots of it. I brought my presents, but what these kids needed was my presence, my life, boots on the ground. They needed me. They didn't need my stuff, they needed me. See, when we think about this idea of poverty in the city, we can come up with all these great ideas, but the dude was right. I mean, it's still every year we come back to it. 4th, 8th, 10th, 12th, 1st, whatever. I mean, we're still up there. Because I think we're trying to give poverty our presents, our gifts. We stand and we look at poverty like I have some pennies in my pocket. And we oftentimes sit way out on the outside in the skirts of town and we throw our gifts in. There you guys go. There you go. There you go. And we think that's enough. We're wrong. The city needs our life. It needs boots on the ground. It needs our presence. I remember the story of Nehemiah. You guys know the story of Nehemiah, right? I mean, we all know and the famed story of Nehemiah. And many of us love the story. Most of us love the story about the rebuilding of the wall, right? I mean, Nehemiah was the great leader of building the wall of Jerusalem. But I like something else in the story. I just want to read you the beginning of Nehemiah, Nehemiah 1. After, it says, some people came and Nehemiah questioned them about the Jewish remnant that had survived the exile, and also about Jerusalem. They said to me, to Nehemiah, those who survived the exile are back in the province, are in great trouble and disgrace. The wall of Jerusalem is broken down and its gates have been burned with fire. When I heard these things, I sat down and wept. For some days I mourned and fasted and prayed before the Lord God of heaven. See, Nehemiah was broke. He was broken down when he heard the news of his family members, of his homeland, of his people living under injustice. The walls had fallen down. So what was Nehemiah going to do about it? But you guys know that Nehemiah was the cupbearer, right? I mean, he was the cupbearer to the king. And that was a pretty good gig. I mean, I imagine that the government benefits for that job were pretty good. Yeah? I mean, cupbearer to the king, because if someone got to the cupbearer, that means they got to the king. So he had to keep his cupbearer really close. But Nehemiah was broken down, but Nehemiah had a choice to make. Am I going to stay here in this nice position of power and privilege with my government benefits and my retirement plan intact? Or am I going to do something? That's a hard choice. That costs us something. That's why I love the story of Nehemiah. Not because the wall got rebuilt, important as that is, but that he had a risky decision to make and he made it. And this morning we've heard stories of Nehemiahs, haven't we? People who have left the other gigs that they had going on because they've heard the cry of the city and said, God, I can't do what I'm doing anymore because all I hear is the cry of those who are impoverished and pain and marginalized by the system. I can't keep doing my life and pretending that everything is okay. I must act. Everyone here at this table this morning is a Nehemiah to us. Thank you for being examples to us of what modern day Nehemiahs look like. You see, in our tradition as Christians, we have been formed by stories of dangerous action. People, one after another, saints and prophets and missionaries and regular people sacrificing their lives for the needs of others. In seminary, we learned about stories, we read stories of how missionaries in the 17th and 18th centuries from America went onto the mission field and they packed their belongings in pine boxes because they knew they would never come back. They knew they would never see their family again. They knew they were risking and leaving everything because they were hurting people that needed the life-changing gospel, the good news of both word and deed of Jesus Christ. And so they left it all. You see, those are the stories that we have before us. Those are the risky, dangerous stories that have formed us, church. Our hero, Jesus, the Messiah, as we see in John 1, in the incarnation, that God heard our cry. God heard the cry of humanity in our night. We were broken in desperate need, and God came down and dwelt among us. God did not throw pennies down to us and say, I hope that things go well, use it well. No, he came down in the flesh. He put boots on the ground and said, to fix this mess, we're going to have to get involved. See, this is our story, church. This is our legacy. When everyone else is running away, we run in. When the building is on fire and everybody else is coming out, we say, my God, we got to get in there because we got to rescue some people. You see, this is our legacy. But it seems lately in the church in America that American church is infected with this virus of self-satisfaction. We are afraid to lose what we have. So we focus on ourselves, on our buildings and our budgets, and we are leaving the poor to die in the streets. Sure, we send some money, but that's not what the hurting and the oppressed need. They don't need our presents, our gifts. They need our presence. They need boots on the ground. They need us to move into the neighborhood like Jesus moved into the neighborhood. They need the word to take on flesh. Our city's dying, and we've heard stories of this. Our kids in our city are eating orange pills, church. Living in ghettos that we have created. I will take responsibility for this. We have created ghettos, white people. Let me say this. This is offensive, I know. But we've created them. And we've tucked them away and we've forgotten about them. But it's time to change. We've heard brilliantly this morning that poverty is not something we can just get people out of. We need to leave our exit mentality of thinking we can just pull people out of poverty. No, as Miss Lane has said, poverty is not something one lives in. Poverty is because they're broken. Our people are broken. We need to have incarnational mentality. That we will enter, not asking people to come out, but that we will enter in to the pain, into the brokenness, into the broken story. Let us go to the people. Let us love the people. Let us listen to people, as Miss Adams has said. See, this is trauma-based care. This is the answer to adverse childhood experiences. Jesus was doing it a long time ago. Getting close, making a home in the midst of pain, touching it, being present, changing his proximity. I ask you this morning, what is your proximity to poverty? Do you stand far away, or are you willing to get real close? You see, it all depends on proximity. There's this girl in our church, in a neighborhood that we work in. Her name is Mimi. Beautiful, young, African-American girl. She's about 11 or 12 years old. Her story is an amazing story, just brilliant girl. She wants to do well in school, but some people began to have a relationship with her in our church, and they got close to her, and they began to mentor. And the question became like, why, Mimi, are you struggling in school? You love school, but why are you? And she finally, after someone had built a relationship with her for a year, she finally opened up and said, I don't see very well. The girl just needed some glasses. You see, this story is depressing to me because no one has gotten close enough to her to understand that all the girl needs to succeed is a pair of $100 glasses. And we said, this is injustice and it cannot stand. Get the girl a pair of glasses. And now she's doing great. She's doing great and she's beautiful, inspiring others in her young age. We found in working in our neighborhood a young man, 7th grade. Same story, he couldn't read. A 7th grader who can't read. This should shake us to our core, people. This is injustice from hell. And we need to engage in it. But we won't ever know what 7th graders can't read until we get close. Until we get really close. Until we change our proximity. We need to change our perceptions. There's such beauty in our city. Such a beautiful community of life. These kids are worth us our lives. They're worth saving. We need to change our perception. You know, it's hard for me a lot of times. I work with a lot of suburban churches, and it's hard sometimes, and I struggle, honestly, you know, when I hear the negative perceptions of the city, and I hear this phrase all the time, well, they just need to get a job. And I ask, do you know how hard it is to get a job in the city? And they look at me, and I'm like, no, you don't, do you? Because you have wrong proximity to the problem. You see, we must act. We must respond. We simply cannot go on like this as the fourth poorest city in America. We can't go on like it anymore. This must change. So how do things change? It starts with you. It starts with you hearing the cry of the pain in the city. Can you hear it? I mean, you heard it this morning. The cry of the oppressed, the cry of the 12-year-old girl who's getting raped because she was sold to a pimp. Can you hear it? Can you hear the cry of a 7th grader who can't read and he wants to so badly, but now he can't do well in school, so he's going to turn to something else? Can you hear the cry of the mom, a single mom who has no idea how to do it alone? Can you hear the cry of the man who just wants the dignity of having a job but can't find one? Can you hear it? So what can you do, pastors? I mean, a lot of us in here, I know a lot of you in here are working in the midst of it. This is not for you. But if you came this morning checking out thinking, what can I do about this situation? If you're a pastor, you have to lead your church in this way. You're going to have to stand up and take a stand, and it will cost you something. Let us be very clear. It will cost you something. You will lose people. You might even lose your job, because this is dangerous work. But you have to stand up. Begin to preach about the city. Begin to draw your people into the need. Begin to build partnerships with African American churches in the city. To say, who's the experts? They are. Let's learn from them. Let's learn from them. Begin to teach your church about the injustices in the city. How the church can engage, learn from others, listen, get involved. Find those leaders in your church that are passionate about this. Form a team to lead your church to engage in the city. Form a team to build a partnership with an African-American church in the city. You know what? I've never found an African-American church who turned people away. They're always, I mean, their hospitality is amazing. They're always like, come on, we'd love to have you. So why don't we engage more as the white church? Individuals, get involved with one of these organizations. Go out into the hall. Just don't V-line it out of here. I mean, you have some action steps. Go out, get engaged. Don't just write a check. Goodness, don't just write a check. Write your life. Give your time, give your talent, give your gifts. Mentor a child, tutor a teen. Change your proximity to the problem. We cannot expect people to leave their poverty, but we can enter the poverty with them. That's what Nehemiah did for his people. That's what Jesus did for us. And that is our calling as well. Our city's walls have fallen down. They are burning with fire, but there are people trapped inside. Beautiful, wonderful people created in the image of God. Our city's eating orange peels, and how will we respond? Will we run out, seeking to save ourselves? Or will we follow in the footsteps of the heroes who have gone before us and change our proximity? To give the city our presence, our lives, boots on the ground. The next step is yours. I hope that you will respond like so many followers of Jesus have responded before. Thank you.